Savoy Truffle was George Harrison's tribute to his good friend Eric Clapton. It seemed that Eric Clapton had a little bit of a sweet tooth. So one day George Harrison took a box of candies and using the names of the different candies in the package, he wrote lyrics to the song which became Savoy Truffle. It was recorded for the White Album with a great brass section behind it. But what's even more interesting is how this song is constructed. It uses parallel and relative minor-major switches, and it has a great use of the flat 3 chord. Let's take a look at Savoy Truffle. One of the first questions about this very unusual song is what key is it in? It could be in 3 different keys just looking at the first verse. It begins with an E major chord, so maybe that is the key. We then go to a major 2 chord, F sharp major. F sharp major would lead around the circle of fifths to a 5 chord or B chord, but it doesn't. It's a non-functioning secondary dominant. Instead, it leads to the 4 chord. So we go from F sharp to A, then we go from G to B. So we're finally at the 5 of E, but we don't go back to E major. We go to E minor. So maybe we're in the key of E minor. Then we alternate between E minor and C major, but we end the verse with a plagal cadence, C major back to G. So now we're in the key of G. What's the relationship between all these keys? Well, E minor is the relative minor of G major, and E minor is the parallel minor of E major. So we have E major, E minor, G major, all being represented in this one verse of the song. Let's take a listen. We end the verse in G, but we immediately go back to E minor for the bridge of the song. You might not feel it now. George uses that same pattern he used in the verse, 4 to 3 to 5, all major chords, the 5 setting up a return to E minor. But the bridge ends with the 5 going to E major so we can start the verse of the song again. Here's the bridge of Savoy Truffle. All throughout Savoy Truffle, George has been playing with what key we're in. Are we in G major? Are we in the relative minor, E minor? Are we in E minor's parallel major, E major? The song begins in E major. How does it end? Well, it ends with that transition from E minor to the C, the plagal cadence from C down to G. We end in G. And George repeats that twice, as if to laugh at us to say, look, I can go between E minor and G, back to E minor, back to G. It's almost like George is playing with us, just like he might be playing with the different chocolates in a box of good news. Savoy Truffle uses parallel and relative minor-major switches and the flat 3 chord that we've learned about. Some really sweet changes for a song that's about sweets.